Hi and welcome to my channel. My name is Sasha Kazachenko. I'm Ukrainian, Russian speaking till the day Russian invasion in Ukraine, civilian man. I was born and grew up in the eastern part of Ukraine. I'm studied and graduated from a Russian school, and probably there's the reason my English isn't fluent. My existing, not opinion, was used by Russians to justify Russian invasion in Ukraine, and I want to share my personal thoughts which reflect the statements of a wide percentage of the Ukrainians about the Russian invasion. In my personal opinion, there is almost no chance for foreigners to split reality from propaganda, so I decided to create this channel to help you understand our pain as Ukrainians with all this madness around us. Comment, like, subscribe and ask questions. Today I want to review Amit Sengupta channel. He has 1.7 million subscribers, a lot of socials, podcasts, he regularly uploads videos, and so far I can see this person is a well-known expert in all kinds of geopolitical issues, but that interested in Ukraine.
Regarding Russia-Ukraine war. Russian troops are slowly advancing towards the town of Bakhmut. Bakhmut is here, it's in the Donetsk region. I have said this in my previous video, Russia is not at all interested in the whole Ukraine. It only wants the regions of Donetsk and Luhansk.
Yeah, we all heard that from a viral and released Putin speech. But in reality, Russia actually wants all of Ukraine. Not only the territory, but they also want to completely change political vector of Ukraine. If we look at the real war map, we can see green markers. In all these areas, Russians were met with heavy losses, and as a result they committed the first major war crimes against civilians in Bucha, Irpin, etc.
In fact, this whole war started due to a territorial conflict.
Ukraine is not part of NATO, but we will be, mostly because of this war. You must understand that entire Russian war operation was planned and expected to be completed in a week or two, but something went wrong. We just didn't let it happen. Every Ukrainian doing everything possible to stop this aggression, and no one won't be able to silence us, no matter how hard you try, it won't work. Russia's gonna send more rockets to Ukraine to cut off electricity. Okay, now I have free time in the evening to create these videos on my laptop. Someone's doing exercise, others volunteer along and help more people in need. We are showing the whole world who you Russians really are, and we are not afraid. You all gonna pay for your crimes and lies. Just 30 seconds, really, how many lies can be in 30 seconds?
For this war, this Donbas region had Russian-speaking Ukrainians.
Oh, what a beautiful map. Majority of Russian speaking. Okay, right now I'm speaking English. Does it make me English citizen? Should I ask them to invite my country? Being able to speak 3 languages means that I'm just educated person, nothing more or less. You can ask, why Ukrainians who previously spoke Russian stop doing it? Are they Nazi? No, that happened because we understood Russian expansion politic. If you are living outside of Russia and continue to speak Russian language, listening Russian music, watching Russian TV shows, you are the proxy for Russian invading in your country, and they don't care will you survive or not. For them, it would be much better if you create a massive amount of panic and move to another closest country as a refugee, where Russians are waiting in their Russian communities. What was the actual war plan in Ukraine? Russians invading on these Russian-speaking territories where some people have to welcome them. Some spread the panic fairy tales about the second largest army of the world. Other ones should be executed to prove some occupation army mentally unhealthy. But we are Ukrainians, Russian-speaking but Ukrainians, and Russians do not expect that amount of Russian-speaking people are not on their side. Do not panic and doing everything possible to liberate Ukrainian land. That's the reason we are stop using Russian language, because it kills.
This Donbas region had Russian-speaking Ukrainians.
Beautiful map. Let's check what Wikipedia says. Right now we are on Russians in Ukraine wiki page. Sevastopol is just a city in Crimea. We are interested in Crimea, Luganska and Donetsk Oblast. So there is only in Crimea has to be 60% of Russian population. Okay, let's try to understand why only Russians see the beauty of this place. Maybe something happened there. And we see, in 1897, 33% of population in Crimea were Russians. However, back in 1785, only 2% of populations were Russians. Let's check what happened in this period of time. The Crimean Tatars emerged as Turkish-speaking ethnic group native to Crimea in the early modern period during the lifetime of the Crimea Khanstvo and by the annexion of the Crimea Khanstvo by the Russian Empire in 1783. They formed the clear majority of Crimean population. Oh, so there was another annexion, but there is more. In 1944, 200,000 Crimean Tatars were deported from Crimea to Central Asia and Siberia, along with 70,000 Greeks and 40,000 Bulgarians and others. Oh, so maybe there is the reason so high Russian percentage in Crimea. When someone tries to do historical justice, they usually try to find relatives, provide DNA, generic tests, or pay reparations, doing something for people that can help to prove previous wrongs and restore dignity and respect. But not Russians. Russians want to give glory to the Tsars who seized the Russian Empire and continue to do genocides and Russian Empire expansion.
Often had clashes with the Ukrainian military.
About these clashes, since I grew up in the eastern Ukraine, I can confirm that Ukrainian-speaking people are often suffered from racist prejudice and humiliation. Something like, whoa, why you speak Ukrainian? Are you redneck? Speak a normal Russian language. So these acts are not acts of defense, they are more acts of aggression and separatism. She lives in an independent country, and she must greet her clients in Ukrainian, and it has never been a problem for us to speak the language that client answered, be it Ukrainian, Russian or English. We never had a language barrier divide us. It's still a normal situation when we speak between each other in both languages and don't even notice it. But this war has changed everything. If you continue to use Russian language in Ukraine, which Russians weaponized in this war, after this hundreds of thousands of deaths, you are just a fool.
You can say that there was a mini war going on in the Donbas region since 2014.
Mini war with Russian weapons, with Russian commanders. This mini war has resulted in 20,000 deaths for nothing, millions of refugees, and grow up a generation that has never saw the truth because the total propaganda world they live in.
Since this region is bordered with Russia, so naturally the Russian government supported these minority population and the rebel forces, or you can call them extremists, in their fight against the Ukrainian military.
Yeah, we've all seen what Russian support naturally does. This is pure propaganda. That's how it works. That's why everything is so complicated. While people are arguing about these lies in the comment, Ukrainians are dying.
In fact, the whole Minsk agreement, which has now proved to be a bogus agreement, but the war never ended. So anyhow, to cut the long story short, you have to understand that Russia only wants the eastern part of Ukraine.
Yes, and who used this agreement as an advantage for future inventions?
From day one of this war, that is last year from the month of February 2022, I have been saying that this is not a war just between Russia and Ukraine.
Okay, and there is so much more. After watching only this video, I would recommend you to subscribe on my channel instead of watching all his videos. Like, subscribe if you not already did it.
It is between Russia and the collective West, which includes United States as the captain, United Kingdom, European Union member countries and the G7 countries.
If there is no independent Ukrainian nation, tireless work of our diplomats and the army at first, this collective West would never exist.
As well as open acceptance in front of the media for sending weapons, military equipments and money to Ukraine.
But still, the main weapon supplies to Ukraine are Russia. Russia left us the largest amount of weapons because they have been defeated in many battles with our army. In Russia they call this strategic maneuver or gesture of goodwill. Yeah, we believe you.
We don't care. The United States and NATO, we do not care how many Ukrainians die. It's become a great football game. We've got our team, they've got our team, rah, we want to get the biggest score and run it up. We are shipping fantastic quantities of weapons. Caused the stock of Raytheon, which creates missiles, and Northrop Grumman, which creates aircraft and so forth, and missiles. All of these defense industries have become tremendously bloated with tax dollars. But I don't think Ukraine has anything to do with the decision about peace or war. I think the decision about peace or war is made in Washington, D.C. As long as we want the war to continue, we will fight that war using Ukrainians as proxies, and we will fight it to the last Ukrainian death.
These words are correct from his perspective. Without this help, we won't be able to stand against Russia. But look at the map. Look at the historical moments of Russian genocide. This war will not end Ukraine. It was started by Russians to use Ukraine for future invasion, and it's sometimes quite difficult to understand in which situation we find ourselves. This war was planned to be the first step towards a Cold War with the West and NATO. And that's why we are receiving this amount of help. That's why Russian army execute, killing, raping, and get so mad at all of Ukrainians, because we stopped them from beginning this holy Cold War against West. All through they tried for so long to prove anyone that we are one nation with Russia, that we are brothers, that we have the same culture, and that Ukraine has never existed. We fight for our freedom, because if we lose, we're gonna be a part of Russian army, which is probably not what we would like to hear.
Now let me show you on a map who is in control of what in Ukraine.
That's the regions where Russians have simply not yet been beaten, nothing more or less.
As I already said that the eastern part of Ukraine is very much in control of Russia. And I also said Russia is not at all interested in taking over the entire Ukraine.
This is third time you're trying to buy me. Still doesn't work. Keep trying.
Probably the Russian plan is to advance a little more inside and gain control of the areas near Kharkiv, Dnipro and entire Kherson.
Probably Russian plan. Man, there is a single Russian on the planet that knows what plan is. Even Putin don't know the plan. Because every plan they created, it collapsed at the beginning.
The city of Dnipro. In fact, the Ukrainian presidential advisor has recently resigned over his false statement.
The reason why he said this is because he wanted to hype and be the first who said this version public. The plan was brilliant and worked out at all Russian propaganda channels. He apologized for unverified information and decided to leave his post. But look, the cause of this death is clear. It's Russian rocket. Russian rocket aimed to the center of the city, civilian city with population of 1 million people.
And has brought this out in the public that Ukraine has been lying about a lot of things during the entire 1 year of war.
Oh, Ukraine lied. Dude, you lied whole video. You choosing a side between Russia and Ukraine that is simply bigger, stronger, has more money and weapons, but on paper. And Ukrainians are scissors in this combination. I'm tired from this video, so conclusion is simple. This is pure propaganda with zero truth. While I'm recording this video, I'm getting an idea. Probably I will create a Top Gear style scoreboard of propaganda. Something like for 1 minute of lives, it takes me 5 minutes of explanation. And we have a first winner. And I want to send a public message to Amit. I hope you, Amit, are already suffering so much that you have decided to create such propaganda content. Well, that's it. That's how my first video on YouTube looks like. Hope you enjoyed. You can support me by subscribing, like, dislike, comment, questions. Have a nice next video and see ya!